telling you about fog and the relevance of foggy days for things like trading or other things, because fog is often an environment in which things change in a less transparent way for obvious reasons. And when the fog clears up, it is a reminder that it is always foggiest before clarity. And it seems Mother Duck and her ducklings have moved on to somewhere else at the moment, probably further down the canal or who knows where. I did hear them quacking a little ways back, unless of course it was a different group of ducks. Now, why do I mention that about the fogginess and the clarity? Well, for example, in trading, have you ever noticed that when the price action is following the returns and the volatility is making significant moves, so the price action is running up or down significantly at a relatively rapid rate, have you ever noticed that after that settles down a little, right, you'll see, well, the volatility is starting to fall off and the returns are starting to cool off, right? They're moving less rapidly in one direction or another, and thus the resulting price action is starting to taper off. And if you notice why that is the case, well, it's because of the very normal distribution of the asset along the standard deviations of the returns. And that also happens to work very nicely with the Laplace distribution. So why is it that there is fogginess before clarity, in the sense of what is the price action going to do? Why is it that traders are so concerned about that? Well, most traders are concerned about that because they've been misled or misinformed or both into thinking that price action is the thing that matters, when in fact we all know it's not the price action, it's the returns, right? The returns on investment. That's what people are looking for if they're actually traders who know what they're doing, or investors who know what they're doing, right? The price doesn't matter. In fact, Peter Schiff, the gold shiller extraordinaire, was recently doing an interview with Raoul Pal, if you know who that guy is, kind of a big thinking economist about Bitcoin, more of an investor, but invests in long-term things. He's not a trader, but he makes some very good points about why he thinks Bitcoin is better than gold. And of course, Peter Schiff makes his points about why he thinks gold is a real currency or a real asset that has a real value, because people use it in industry, and so it will always have a kind of inherent value. And of course, he believes that Bitcoin, or he publicly says that Bitcoin is worth nothing because you can't do anything with it, which is of course a lie, because there are plenty of things you can do with Bitcoin. There are plenty of things people do with Bitcoins. In fact, he himself recently publicly tweeted or messaged that he was into ordinals or something. Well, ordinals is something that you can't do without Bitcoin, right? It's an inscription on a Satoshi, which is something, the base unit of the Bitcoin blockchain. So, and also, he mentioned that he only cares about assets as an investor when the price is low, and that he doesn't care about the volatility. Well, what do you think creates the price, Peter? It's the volatility. The volatility, the standard deviation of returns, is what tells the price action to go one way or the other when you correlate it correctly. Right? It's the volatility that tells you the probability of the direction of the price action. It's the returns, right, that matter. Why? Because the returns either move away from the mean or returns mean revert. That's all they do. That's it. Returns mean revert. Of course, that means they also move away from the mean. But returns mean revert. Price action doesn't. Price action just follows the returns. Why doesn't price action mean revert? Well, if you look at price action, you can see that price action, first of all, can differ from the returns on any particular individual candle. But most of the time, it just follows what the returns are doing. And when I say most of the time, I mean like if it skips a candle or two, whatever, and then it will follow the returns. That's how that works. The second thing is, price doesn't revert to the mean of returns. Returns revert to the mean of returns. Right? When we say returns mean revert, returns revert to the mean of returns. Price doesn't revert to the mean of returns. Right? And price is random for the most part. Price action is random. How do we know that? Because most of the time, assets are moving randomly on random walks in random markets. And when they're not, what are they doing? They're in a trending move. And how often does an asset typically, exist in a random walk? About 70-80% of the time. And how often does an asset typically exist in a trending move? About 20-30% of the time. Depends on the asset and the time frame. Some are lower, some are higher. Right? But typically, assets are in a random walk. And then when they're in a trending move, they're in a trending move. Once the trending move is over, they return to a random walk. It's really not that complicated. And you can see when it's in a trending move or in a random walk very easily. And that's why, if you look, for example, at today's Bitcoin price action, you'll notice what has it been doing? Following the returns and moving along mostly on a random walk. On all the time frames, pretty much, all the way down to the 15-minute easily, it's been in a random walk so far. At least until the last time I looked at the chart, which was about 40 minutes ago or so. And of course, lower time frames, you still get trending moves, even on a day when there's a lot of ranging or random walks. But on the 15-minute and higher, it's basically been in a random walk. So what can you do with that? Well, you can learn how to trade random walks, or you can just trade super low time frames to catch the trending moves on those. Or you can trade another asset that's having more trending moves. How can you do that? Well, if you use the entropy indicator from alpha trading, you'll see it right there if the asset's in a random walk or trending move. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now. Happy trading.